It is SPFBO 8 time. This year, I am so honored to be joining SPFBO as a judge. And if you don't know what SPFBO is, you can check out my video explaining it here. Essentially, it is a competition for self-published fantasy run by Mark Lawrence. Now, although I will be judging the finalists by myself, I really wanted some help in my initial batch of 30 to make sure that more of them got read and reviewed the way they deserve to. So 5 awesome booktubers agreed to help me out, and they're gonna introduce themselves and where you can see their updates on their books.
What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. I have a channel called The Nerdy Narrative where I talk about all of the things that I read, and I do a lot of book reviews. And it seems, thinking on it, that the majority of the reviews that I do are self-published. It is my mission to abolish the stigma that just because an author chooses to self-publish, it does not mean they cannot hack it in the traditionally published world. Being asked to be a part of SPFBO 8 this year is an absolute dream to me as a reader and as a reviewer. The 6 books that I get to read for the first round are Ought to Be Dead by Scott Warren. This story features Spectre, who is a warrior spirit who was accidentally awakened by an overworked necromancer late one evening. Who better to fight and hunt monsters than someone who is already dead? Spectre struggles to maintain his hold on his existence while trying to determine the series of attacks that seem to have a common thread. You know, along the way in his travels on these missions, Spectre does find himself with a human apprentice for help. I am extremely interested in learning about their relationship, learning more about this mystery. I think this one is going to be a hit. Next, I will get to read The Cradle, which is the first book in this series by Ron Sammy. This particular book appeals to me in that it feels like there are going to be a lot of conspiracies, political scheming. I'm always very interested in those type of plots, seeing if I can figure them out and keep up with what is going on. There's mention of a fisherman who comes across a corpse and some magical artifacts which lead to a quest away from his family. There's also mention of a prince. There's something to do with a promise that he has made, a journey that people have gone on but no one has ever returned from. I don't know how these are all going to play into one another, but I am extremely curious to read and discover it for myself. Next is Eve of Snows by L. James Rice, which is the first book in the series Sundering of the Gods. 500 years ago, the world was shattered, banished the gods from all the continents, and made all of the humans, the mortals, forget. But in the coming days, the stars are going to align. A religious cabal have come together that are going to restore the gods to the world of men. The different clans are aware something is amiss, something is afoot, and they start sending out priestesses and warriors to investigate. Through the lies, the manipulation, the murder, everyone is racing against time to see if they are going to be able to defy prophecy. Will the world end or will it begin anew? I am extremely excited to read this one. Next is The Grimm by K.H. Nelson. Solon the Grimm is dead. Apparently. There are many stories about how Solon died. His father, the Duke, killed him. He was executed by some forest prince. Others say he was beheaded by a drug smuggler. What we do know is that Solon is the half-mortal bastard child of this elk duke who apparently learned to cheat death as a child. Peace between men and elves is fraying. The alliance is coming apart. Can Solon be the one to stop the coming war? The one that he may have actually caused? We'll find out. The next book that I'll get to read is The Lady of the Mark by Alex Hansen. This will follow the story of Shayla. Shayla will be the first female to join this gilded guard of warriors called the Men of the Mark. The Men of the Mark are currently fighting to end civil war that has just caused starvation and disease amongst the people. Unfortunately, Shayla's presence in this guild causes a lot of problems. Not only is she fighting to end this civil war, she is fighting to stay alive because someone has it out for her. If those two things weren't enough to keep her busy, she somehow finds time to develop a relationship with her mentor in the Men of the Mark. This one sounds like it's going to be one of those where it's one thing after another. Shayla is going to find herself thrown from the frying pan into the fire and back again. I can't wait to see how she's going to get around all this stuff. The final book that I get to read for SPFBO 8 this year is Where Blood Runs Gold by A.C. Cross. This story follows Sheriff Errol Thorpe. A family arrives in town, one that seems very vulnerable, and it draws the sheriff in. Again, this one sounds very political, a lot of conspiracies going to be involved, as well as flesh-eating dust. I will not lie to you, that is what drew me in for this book, has me interested. I want to know about this flesh-eating dust. As you've heard by listening to these brief descriptions of these 6 books, they all sound fantastic. I am excited to read each and every one for different reasons. There is something about each one that draws me in, whether it be the plot or the characters. I cannot wait to read all of these and share them with you.
Hello everybody, my name is Michael Knipp from a channel with the same name where I read and review fantasy and science fiction books of varying stripes. I am extremely excited and honored to be able to help Bookborn out with this first round of judging for the SPFBO 8. A lot of my favorite reads and reviews here on the channel these past couple years have been self-published books, and I think it's super cool to be given this opportunity to be able to participate in this process of discovering more awesome self-published fantasy. I like to read lots of different types of books. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So I think it's really cool for this round of judging. I've been assigned books to read that are all quite different. First off is Any Minor World by Craig Schaefer, which seems to be some kind of dark superhero noir inspired urban fantasy. I've loved me similar series in the past, including the Dresden Files. I'm also a big superhero fan. I'll also be reading and reviewing Deep's End by Kai Greenwood, which seems to be telling the story of 2 different protagonists, one whose goal is to protect this city while this other strange person comes in with one of my favorite tropes, the amnesia trope. Seems pretty cool to me. And look at this cover for Hazel Hearth Hires Heroes by D.H. Willison. The super Dungeons and Dragons types vibes that I'm getting from this cover and the description are pretty intriguing to me. I don't know if you can see all these tabletop role-playing game books behind me, but I am a fan, and also that whole cabinet back there is full of board games. I'm into it. The Valkyrie of Vanaheim by Phil Parker looks to incorporate Norse mythology and portal fantasy in a sort of a conflict between humans and the Fae. That killer setup and title has got me wanting to know more. The Stones of Volterra by Christopher Clargo looks like it's going to be my first real dive into grimdark fantasy. The subtitle on Goodreads describes it as a dark and brutal post-apocalyptic fantasy, which, hey, sounds cool, sounds unlike the stuff I've read before, and I like new experiences. Plus, the name of this series is called For the Love of the Gods, which is a great series title. And the final book that I'll be reading and reviewing is J.C.M. Burns' Wistful Ascending. It's described as a superhero space opera for grown-ups. I've already implied that I like superhero stories, but also I'm super drawn in by the book's description, which compares it to Invincible, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Dragon Ball Z. I'm super hyped to read all of these, and if you want to hear my more detailed thoughts on all of these books, please consider checking out my channel. Thank you so much.
Hey nerds, what's up? My name's Dom, and you can find me talking about books on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram as Dominish Books. I predominantly read epic fantasy, and I really love self-published fantasy as well, which is why I'm involved here. Each month on my channel I feature an indie showcase where I invite typically 4 to 5 self-published authors to send me a video talking about their book so I can showcase them to my viewers and hopefully find a new audience for those books. The main part of my channel though is my book reviews, where I use a weighted rating scale to talk about my enjoyment of the book, the characters, the world building, plot, writing style and pacing. And I'm going to use a slightly modified version of that weighted rating scale to help me judge the books that I'm going to be reading for phase 1 of SPFBO 8. So the 6 books that I'm going to be reading for this start with D.A. Smith's The Blood of Outcasts, and this is one which has just recently had a new cover unveiled, which we've put forward as one of our favourites of the competition because it's a really beautiful design. In this one, our main character must move past old rivalries to unite the clans or face annihilation at the hands of a foreign sect of sorcerers who are silently invading their land. She's been executed, her own clan is shattered and her master is dead, but she's been given a second chance by the cursed power in her blood. The second book I've got on my list is D'April's Fools by Michael D'Angelo. When the heroes have all been taken, the fools will have to do. This one features a warrior and a wizard as they set out on a quest to put together a band of new heroes whilst battling self-doubt and fear. And united, they believe they can finally stand up to the tyranny taking hold of the nation. Then I have Fire of the Forebears by L.A. Buck. The daughter of a deserter and the son of a king face off against each other with the chance to fulfill their forebears' legacies or to destroy them entirely. In this one we're promised humans wielding elemental magic, centaurs, talking animals and much more. Book 4 on my list is I Shall Return with Winter by C.F. Welburn. In this one our main character embarks on a quest for revenge after marauding Skelgs sack his farm. He finds himself an unwitting pawn in an ancient prophecy of the Skelgs and he must prove this wrong if he wants to see his homeland again. Book 5 that I've got is A Phantom's Vengeance by Marco Mitzi. A kingdom is embroiled in a civil war as the High Lord rises up against his brother the King. A soldier from the King's army returns home to find a fate worse than death as he stumbles upon a treasonous plot setting him on a quest for vengeance. And then the final book in my selection is The Soul's Aspect by Mark Holloway. A healer is forced to become a killer for an empire that would grind his country to dust. His town's new alchemist is a rare wielder of magic who carries secrets from the heart of the empire itself, and she's the person that he finds himself turning to for help. So I'm really excited for all of these. I can't wait to get into my first SPFBO 8 read. I'm not sure which one it's going to be yet, but I'll find out soon.
Hello, my name's Pete. I run the channel Ponderings of Pete. I'm really excited to be a part of this competition this year, aka be a underjudge for Bookborn. I believe that's the term. I'll be reading 6 books over the next 6 months. The first one is Heir to the Sun by Karen Lakibo. The second is Morrigan by Jonathan King. The third one will be Sekhmet by Grace Roberts. The fourth one will be The Merchant Prince by Johan Fair. The fifth one will be The Sickle's Edge by Toby Bennett. And the sixth one will be The Hunter by Hannah Carey. Super excited to be a part of this. Thanks so much.
We also have Joana Sousa from the channel Joana Sousa helping me out, and she is a great booktuber who does such great reviews and discussions if you want to check her out. Her 6 books are going to be Jack of Thorns by A.K. Faulkner, Guardians of the Light by Leslie Aldridge, Sweetness and Blessings by Charlotte Kirsten, Profane Rites by P.J. Wilson, Phantom Frost by Alfred Werr, and The Menict Loop by Lorne Ryburn. And you can check out her YouTube and Instagram to follow along with her reviews. I am super excited. Thank you to Michael and Pete and Dom and Joanna and Leslie for joining me on this journey. I am so excited to see which semifinalists they pick and to discover great new self-published fantasy books. I hope you follow along with us this competition, and I'll see you next time. Bye.